Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. I'm not gonna lie, today I have a lot on my mind. I'm gonna try to be brief here and try to be coherent in my thoughts, but there's just a lot of them going on right now. Also, chances are that if you're watching this, you're probably not exactly the coaches that need to really hear this, but I'm going to talk about it anyways, and maybe you share it. Maybe it's just a little reminder for you that of things that you can do this season to enhance the play of your goalies. And a few weeks ago, I talked about a way to instantly become a better goalie coach, and that is to simply play goalie. And I kind of just wanted to continue that notion because similar things keep popping up, and I just want to talk about them. So, first thing is a few days ago, one of my friends, Lady Lax Goalies, very excited to actually team up with her and some other female goalie coaches to put on an all female goalie conference for girls only, which hasn't existed before ever, and I'm really excited to be a part of that, and I really hope that's something that continues, and not just for our group, but for anybody, any female coach. I really just hope there are a lot more opportunities for female goalies to come because, as her video demonstrated, a lot of goalies are just simply ignored still, which is a little crazy to me because it's one of the most important positions on the field and can have the most impact on your game. Certainly, I'm biased because I was a goalie and am a goalie coach, but I still think that this holds true. And I'm just not really sure why there's a disconnect. Not only in the opportunities, maybe it's just because there's less female goalies out there. So there's less opportunities in it. That's probably a side conversation, but I really don't know why more coaches aren't, more eager to learn about goalies and how to help them. Maybe it's intimidating. I would really love to start a conversation with that, why that is. Maybe it's because in a lot of clinics, goalies are kind of like in their own little, like, really small window of talking, and there's not really enough to be effective or to provide information that's applicable for coaches. I don't really know. I would love to know why that is, but that's not really the heart of what I want to talk about. I've been listening to some podcasts and reading some research, and they really all center around this theme of communication and empathy and seeking to understand your players to become an effective coach. And I really want to talk about it because not only does this going to help you coach your goalies and help your goalies play better, but I think it's honestly going to help your entire team with this approach. And, I'm obviously going to be summarizing this immensely, but I highly recommend going to go listen to Way of Champions podcast. That's where I was hearing a lot of this. He talks about on several podcasts, actually. And also was reading some research about shared leadership and coaching Gen Z. And just this theme keeps coming up of the connection, of the trust, of understanding, of empowering others. When others are empowered, you have collective groups that feel like they have some buy-in, some source of leadership, that the teams perform better and they actually perceive their coaches to be better coaches, which I think is very contrary to a lot of what coaches think, that the more we empower others, that the less that we are seen as strong leaders. So I think maybe that's just a little tidbit for you guys to take with you and let that sink in. But really the bigger picture here is maybe just a push to really seek to understand your goalies. And again, building off of the actually playing goalie. How about having a conversation with your goalie about their warm-ups? How do they feel during their warm-ups? Do they actually feel like they're prepared for a practice or a game. Asking them about the shooting drill. Hey, is this a good point for you? For the shooting drill, how far they are. And, also going along with that empathy, understanding what it's like to be in that shooting drill, right? Like for a goalie, a shooting drill is kind of like approaching a run test. It's that kind of intensity, and that is a reason why they need a little extra coaching through it. They need a little boost through it because it's a mental obstacle. And, before a run test, you're not yelling at players to say, hey, you, suck it up and go run. No, you're sitting there saying, hey, you got this. You guys are going to push through this, right? Like every coach gives that run test pump up. Like, we're going to get through this. You guys are going to crush it. It's going to, right? So, like, we got to approach it in a different way. And we need to approach goalies in a different way because they're different and each player is different. And, as a coach, it's our job to get the best out of our players, right? We want to get the best out of every individual so that collectively we can be the best. And there's just growing literature that is showing that to get the best out of people, or you get the best out of them when you understand them. It changes the way you communicate with them. It changes the way that you coach them. And so this is really a push to you coaches to try to understand, to have conversations with your goalies and maybe how you can coach them better. Maybe this is part of it too. Maybe coaches, that requires a little bit of an ego adjustment or letting go of that ego. Maybe that's the hard part too. And I'm not saying too necessarily, we have to cater to goalies 24/7. That's listen, they're not going to get their way all the time. We know this. But how can you still provide a framework for goalies to succeed and think about them in that? So, for instance, I was just in a practice setting where we didn't really have time or personnel to be able to fully warm up goalies. So attackers were warming up goalies. Not really ideal. However, when the frame is put on it, hey, we're going to use this to work on our movement patterns, our hands, and the situation is going to be set up in a way that's set up for you to succeed. They're not going to be shooting right on top of you. Their speed is going to be controlled. Their placement is going to be controlled. And all of a sudden, goalies are like, okay, that's not that bad. We can do this. And so approaching it that way with the right frame, I think is going to be so helpful for your goalies as well. So I know that was a lot. Might have gone off in different tangents there. But like I said, it's just been on my mind. And especially with girls and women in Women in Sport Day, just this really need to empower the athletes we're working with. And it really has me feeling grateful for the opportunity that I have to have an impact on young women. And on the other half of that, it makes me think of the responsibility that I have in coaching to try to be my best. And maybe that's part of this too, that coaches really need to embrace that responsibility piece a little bit more here so that, these goalies are not feeling left out. So these players are not feeling left out and they really are getting our best because they deserve it. They're the next generation. We want them to go and succeed, right? Because not everybody gets to go be a pro lacrosse player and do this thing for the rest of their life. So it's really all about how can we set them up for success afterwards. And I think in doing that and in trying to understand them and empowering them, we are doing that. So yeah, hope this wasn't too much of a tangent, but if anybody wants to talk about this more, if anybody has any questions, always here to talk it up. All right, have a good night, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.